Well, hello, welcome back. This is A Course in Miracles, and from Enlightened World Network, A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. And as you may know, we have now been through the workbook for students. Pretty cool, isn't it? We've been through it in its entirety, and whether you're working on that currently or not, we're going to move on here with this video series. I know that a number of you have actually approached me in the last week, which I love. Thank you so much. I welcome all of your questions and comments, and it's very nice to know that you're all tuning in. So whichever channel, whether my own YouTube channel or Enlightened World Network, welcome. The content is exactly the same. And here, what you will find is you will find over 400 so far of these videos. And I say so far because, well, we're marching on. And this began as a live stream, so you will see in the early videos some interviews that I've done with people that are practitioners of this course that have had it impact their lives in many very profound ways. So you can scroll back through to see those. And also, if you are interested in some general information about A Course in Miracles as a thought system, about the philosophy, the metaphysics, however you want to describe that, there are some very helpful and I think handy, at least that's the intention, is for them to be both helpful and handy introductory videos that talk about certain ideas that you see here in the course, such as miracles, such as forgiveness, such as atonement. What is that? Yeah, and they're very handy for beginners or seasoned veterans alike. This is one thing that I discover as someone who's been through this material more than once, is that coming back to it is like coming back to your favorite novel. I mean, it is, it's analogous, because the next time through, you discover more. You see things that you didn't see before. And you could almost have the experience, can't you, of swearing that that passage wasn't there because you didn't see it. It didn't hit with you, and this time it does. So your learning, in fact, deepens and gets stronger. And what reinforces it is not just the going through the material more than once, it's the moment-to-moment practice. That is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. It's what spirituality is all about. Another way of saying it's where it's at. It's where the action lies, is in your moment-to-moment choice for love. And you could also choose fear. But the action lies in your moment-to-moment choice right now for love. As we've talked about at length, and no doubt we'll discuss again, spirituality is disarmingly simple, with the simple being one of the points and disarming being a very important point. It aims to get us to drop our defenses to truth as it is and allow it simply to be. Now, for us here in the world, bombarded with our drama, gosh, that's a really polite way of putting it, isn't it? Drama. I can think of many other words. I've used them here from time to time in these videos. Yeah, when we're bombarded with drama, it can be really easy, can't it, to lose sight of the fact that we have a choice in the present moment between two things. They're not really things. Let's call them things: love or fear, between two ideas. One leads us inexorably, certainly, to the peace of God. The other leads us to no peace at all. What might look like a temporary, beautiful situation quickly turns on us, and we experience the psycho round of suffering again and again and again. So the workbook for students that we've just completed here in this video series is a beautiful place to begin if you have never been through this course before. You do not have to begin there. As you may know, there is a text and there's a manual for teachers as well as the workbook for students. And we're going, incidentally, to start talking about that manual for teachers today. This will be one of at least 2 introductory videos, and then we launch into the manual, which in sequence here, if you have a copy of A Course in Miracles, it comes after the workbook, which is, as you know, wedged in between the text and the manual. If you're just starting out, I would say start where you're called to start and listen to that voice. That voice is your inner teacher guiding you, nudging you. It might feel like it's slapping you in the face. Happens. Doesn't it? It happens sometimes on the path that we get some instruction in a form that may seem very abrupt, to put it mildly. In other words, our higher self, capital S, has a way of getting our attention. And if we ignore it and run and hide, which we can do, it's part of our choice, fear-based choice, right? Run, hide, flee. The more we do, the more it attempts to get our attention, and the more drawn to it we actually are, which is why you're watching this video. So again, welcome. Just know why you're drawn to this. It's not because of the paintings behind me or the cool weaving. It's not that. It's something much, much deeper than that, much deeper than the form, much deeper than my voice or my appearance. What you're looking at is a projected image. It's on a camera, isn't it? It's like watching a movie. It's not really there. Same. What you're responding to is that call deep within you that you know speaks for love, for truth. We know this. And we could choose not to listen, but because you're watching this video, somewhere, I mean, you may be consciously aware of this, or you may not be, but somewhere at some time you have made a choice to listen to yourself, capital S, to this calling. Yeah. And you've begun what may seem like a long and sometimes, honestly, tortuous journey, a process, as we call it here in the world, that we call spirituality, spiritual practice. We discover along the way that it's an unlearning. I mean, it is. Learning is, in fact, unlearning, because what we're doing is we're taking one thought system, that of the ego, separation, and we're disidentifying with it. This is what time is for. So if it feels like you're not making what we in the world consider progress, again, and as always, I invite you to take an honest, with emphasis on honest, look at where you were in linear time when you started your current practice, which, by the way, does not have to be A Course in Miracles at all, does it? Whatever your current practice is and consists of could be a number of different traditions, could be a complete mix. It's perfect, right? It speaks to you. Go deep with it. So, where were you when you began? Where are you now? Are you different? Honestly assess how. Have you changed? Are you calmer? Are you a little bit more chill? Nobody has to be chill like the Dalai Lama. Nobody has to be chill like a monk that's meditated all of their lives. No, we don't have to do that. But relative to where you were when you began, how different are you? Are you as judgmental? That's a good indicator. Are you able to catch yourself when you are being judgmental and apply the antidote? Here in the course, that's forgiveness. So, honest assessment. Along the way, you're bound to have questions, which is why it's always handy to have a Q&A, an FAQ section, so to speak. And that's where we're headed right now with the Manual for Teachers. It contains a series of questions that students are prone to ask. I mean, they are, right? These are the types of questions that come up along the path, and this is very, very handy. So my intention here is to record a series of videos and start a dialogue with you that you find really, really useful and helpful along the way. So the more participatory you are, the more you get out of it. It's okay to listen to a talking head, which is all this is, by the way. Again, what you're seeing that we can call Reverend Tomas Garza is an image projected on a screen. The voice that's talking to you is your own. Trust that. There are a series of questions here in the Manual for Teachers, and what I want to say today in this video is just a few words about teaching and learning. Now, you may have, if you've followed and watched all of these videos, and I know that some of you have, you'll know that, well, like all teachers, I'm repetitive. Jesus is repetitive in this course. Doesn't he say the same thing over and over in different ways? Because on a given day, boom, we might get it. Right? You've heard me say many times that you are a teacher. You do not have to hold yourself out as such, as I do. You don't have to hold yourself out as a teacher of school or a professor or a trainer or an instructor or anything like that. You don't have to have a degree or a designation or an ordination. You don't have to have any of that to still be a teacher and learner. Consider the premise that there is no separation at all. No separation of any kind. In other words, the ego, as real as it may seem to us, does not exist. The ego, again, is this sense of separate self, which it's helpful, I think, sometimes to write with a lowercase s. Yeah, this course, Eastern philosophy, call it the ego. Yeah. If you're a student of Buddhism, this will be familiar to you for sure. Yeah. One of the things that I really like about this course is that bridging of terminology and approach, it bridges both East and West because it's universal. So a term like ego will be familiar to those of you that are versed or practitioners of Eastern philosophy. And it's Christian language, but it's universal. And the course uses words like God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, that sort of thing. The reality that we find in the world, which passes for reality because it's in the world itself is not even reality. What we see here in the world is getting things backwards. Teaching and learning are confused here in the world. We see teaching and learning as separate, and we see a teacher as someone else, somebody else who's pouring information into us. And we're maybe receiving it, maybe we're rejecting it, maybe a little of both sometimes, right? We're questioning it, we're adopting it. The point here is that here in the world, we see teacher and learner as separate. This course begins with the premise and continues with the premise, and of course, always concludes with the premise, same continuity. Teacher and learner are not separate. They are one. We are always teaching and learning. We teach by default what we believe we are. If we believe we're separate, we teach separation. We show up in judgment, blame and attack, in fear, sadness, victimhood, anger, fits of violent rage. If we believe that we are one with one another, with our brothers and sisters, with God, if we believe we are love, that's how we show up. That's what we teach. We extend love. And we're always learning. People are always in your sphere of energy and influence. So this course isn't big on energy and energy therapy and anything like that. I'm using this as an example because I think it illustrates a point that you're always teaching. People are always, anyone you interact with, whether it is a tweet or whether it's a Facebook post or an in-person interaction, they're in your energy field and you're in theirs. You influence one another and communicate with each other in many ways, not just verbally, not simply physically in the form of a hug or a kiss or a punch in the face or hot sex. There's many different ways, right? There are many ways that we communicate. We're always in each other's energetic space. So when you extend fear and hatred and division, that's what people learn from you. You're teaching. If, on the other hand, you extend patience and love and joy and forgiveness, people learn that. And you are also a learner here. Teaching and learning are the same. There is no separation of any kind. So there has never been, nor can never be, and certainly is not now, a separate teacher and a separate learner. To the extent that seeing it that way helps you, good. Let it temporarily help you, but know deep down, this is another way of my saying what I've already said here, the voice that you're hearing that's calling you to this video, that's calling you to spiritual practice, is your own. So in the next video, we're going to say a little bit more. We'll spend a second video here talking about the introduction to the manual. And I want to say some more about how we show up and teach in the world. That will be in the next one, because I just think that it will help to parse this into two videos. The idea, of course, as always, is one and unified. And you can find all of this information that we're talking about today and over the next couple of days in the introduction to the manual for teachers. So I hope that you consider the idea that you're always teaching. Even if it takes a far different form than what you're seeing right now, you're always teaching. All right. Teach love.